folks and friends, this is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami coming to you live from my house. You can see my lovely photo in the background. That's from Big Sky, Montana, which is one of our funnest trips. But I wanted to join you live this morning, and I'm going to try to change so that we get less of a reflection. There we go, maybe that's better. If you're joining me live on this video, please say hi in the comments so I can say hi back, because I love to know who's joining me live. If you're watching the replay, please comment below and say replay so I can also see who is getting this content and who might need to see more of this content. This video is called, What Are You Convincing Yourself Of? And before I get into why we're talking about that specifically, I want to share a story with you. Really quick story. This morning I was at a workshop called You Are Worth It. It was hosted by a colleague of mine. Her name is Louise Griffith, and she does amazing work around self-worth and empowerment and telling yourself certain stories that empower you instead of make you feel less than who you are. And she has been inviting me to this workshop for a while, and I've been meaning to go. It hasn't panned out for me. Now this morning I was able to attend, which was a very exciting thing for me, and partly to support her, partly out of professional curiosity. She and I are both speakers, and just to see what kind of offering she has. And the thing that came up, we had an exercise during this workshop where we were sitting with a partner, and we were tasked with taking 1 minute to describe amazing things about ourselves, our gifts, our passions, things we're amazing at, we're good at, things like that. No problem, right? The other partner was supposed to listen, and then once the minute was up, then they would encourage, support, lift up, what have you. Now, I work in this confidence space, empowerment space. I have a program called Release Your Inner Wonder Woman. Clearly, I think that we all have amazing potential with us, and all we have to do is bring that potential out. So in terms of being able to describe myself positively for 1 minute, that was easy peasy lemon squeezy. It was also not too challenging for my partner, which was amazing to see. She had some great things to say about herself. But she also reflected back to me her impressions of what I had to say about myself. And here's what came up. Here's what was very interesting. Hi Rupa, I'm so glad you could join us live today. We're talking a little bit about what are you convincing yourself of? And this was spurred on by a conversation that I had at a workshop this morning. And so my partner was listening to me talk about myself in very positive and encouraging ways and just sharing my gifts and my passions. And afterwards she said, "You were very convincing." And I thought about that. I'm like, I'm very convincing when it comes to sharing what I'm amazing at. That's interesting. I'm a confidence and wellness speaker. Obviously, I know how to believe in myself. That's something that I've cultivated from the time I was a little child. It's not something that comes hard to me. But it was interesting that what came up for her was that I was very convincing in my belief system. Now I want to reflect it back to you who are watching this video, either live or on the replay. What are you trying to convince yourself of? Like when you talk to yourself, and I did a video earlier this week about how do you talk to yourself. But it's really important to understand what you're trying to convince yourself of, because it may or may not be the truth in your life. It may or may not be your story. It could be someone else's story that's coming down to you. And the level at which you believe in that story makes a huge impact in how you convince yourself to act and move in this world. So for example, if you're convincing yourself or trying to convince yourself that you're a good mother, I use this example a lot because there's that thing called mom guilt, right? That we're not up to the mark when it comes to being a mom. I don't know how that can be true. We're uniquely suited to mother the children we have, but there is that concept that you're not doing good enough as a mom. If you're trying to convince yourself that you're a good mom, then possibly you don't feel like you're a good mom right now, and you're trying to convince yourself of that. And it could be that this is a story that has been given to you from people in your circle. Maybe because you belong to a group of moms who are totally amazing in everything they do, or at least according to your perceptions when you have conversations with them, and they're cooking these amazing food every day for their family, and they're eating all the healthy stuff, and they're exercising, 4 times a week, and they're doing all these things in an amazing way that feels quite impossible to you. And maybe that is telling you that you're not a good mom. Maybe you see them feeding their children things that are all organic and healthy and all those things, and you are barely able to scrape by with your goldfish every day as a snack for your children, or you forget snack for your children. There could be a lot of stories coming around that you hear in your circles and within conversations with people you know and care about that make you feel like you're not enough. And so you might be trying to convince yourself, I am a good mom, but it's maybe not resonating with you. It's not something that you feel the truth of it in your heart, because you're trying to convince yourself of that. Or maybe it's something different. Maybe you're trying to convince yourself that you're a successful, beautiful person. There could be lots of different things you're trying to convince yourself of, but maybe it's something you've never really believed to be true about yourself. By the way, I'm not here to judge anyone. You have your own stories. I have my own stories. And if you feel supported enough and brave enough, because it does take bravery, to share one of your stories that you struggle with and you try to convince yourself of, then I will support you and encourage you during this video. So if you feel comfortable, feel free to share one of the stories that you're trying to convince yourself of. We all try to convince ourselves of something, right? Now, so some of your stories could be handed to you from other people, but they could also come from within yourself. If you've never felt beautiful, and I know a lot of women who don't feel beautiful, and I feel so bad for them, because all of us are beautiful. We're not all beautiful in the same way, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and see something beautiful in yourself, then I feel for you, from the depths of my heart, because you are beautiful and you are meant to be who you are, and you came to this world the way you are for a reason, and there's beauty in that reason, and you don't have to know the reason to recognize the beauty. Yet, what do you do when you look at yourself and you're like, maybe you're trying to implement some of these affirmations that you hear about, these I am statements, like I am beautiful, I am strong, I am a good mother, I am a successful businesswoman, whatever these affirmations might be, and it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't feel true for you, that's when you're trying to convince yourself of something that doesn't feel true. And what does that feel like when you're telling yourself these things and you're trying to change your story, and it feels like you're lying, it feels like you're being fake, it feels like you're not there, it feels like you're making stuff up? How does that feel to you? Does that feel like something that you can continue doing? Sometimes we try to convince ourselves of things because other people tell us. You should do this. You should do that. Why don't you? XYZ. These stories happen all the time. It could be from our partners. It could be from our children. It could be from anyone. I'll give you an example. Like today I had an event that was scheduled this evening. My in-laws are in town with us right now, and it would have taken me away from my in-laws for quite a while, and they're leaving to go back to India tomorrow. So I'm like, oh, I had this conflict in my heart. Like, I had scheduled this event a couple of weeks ago with the misconception that my in-laws would be staying in town for longer. So I figured, oh, it's okay. They're not leaving the next day. It's fine. It's just a few hours. I'll come back home and I'll spend plenty of time. Unfortunately, that's not what ended up happening. So I had this conflict in my heart, right? I was trying to convince myself, I can do it all. I can do this event. I can earn this money for my family. I can be the businesswoman I am, and I can still be the good daughter-in-law. I was trying to convince myself of that. And this morning, my husband woke up and he says, you should cancel that event. So that created a conflict for me. I'm like, oh, shoot. I want to show up as the businesswoman I am, because I really take my commitments seriously, and I don't like when other people cancel their commitments on me. Like, I just expect people to fulfill their commitments, whether that's personally or professionally. So I don't want to be that professional who cancels her commitments. At the same time, I also am someone who prioritizes family over just about anything else, and I've always done that. So I had this conflict, and I'm like, what should I convince myself to do? Should I convince myself that I'm a great daughter despite the fact that I'm going to be going to this event? Should I convince myself that I'm a great businesswoman even if I cancel this? It doesn't mean that I'm not a good businesswoman. So, there's conflicts there, and I was trying to gently talk to myself around this situation and understand that whatever came up for me was unique to me, and I have to just make a decision. The hardest thing we can do in our lives is stand in a place of indecision. Right? No matter what it is. It could even be as simple as, what am I going to eat for dinner today? That's a small decision in the grand scheme of life, but it could be really bothering you, right? What are some decisions that you're standing on right now that you just, oh my God, it's just bothering you so bad? You might even be losing sleep over it, but it may not be like a huge monumental decision, but it's something that you don't have clarity on and you don't know what to say. And maybe some people are trying to convince you to make a decision, or you're trying to convince yourself and you just don't want to. I feel for you. I know what that place looks like. So when it comes to convincing yourself, I would always encourage you to convince yourself to be the best you can be, no matter what that means. For me, it might be that I want to physically challenge myself. That will help me be the best I can be physically. I want to be the best daughter I can, so I'm going to reach out to my mom. I wrote a message to my mom this morning, you know, I'm going to be that daughter-in-law who is there for her family tonight. We're going to carve pumpkins together. So, you know, that is what I don't need to convince myself of that, because I know that that's part of my value system. Convincing yourself could be stories around what other people think is right for you. Even if you yourself are telling yourself, that's not one of my values. That's not one of my priorities. Do you ever have a situation where someone is trying to tell you what you need to do, either explicitly or implicitly? And you internalize that, right? You internalize that thought and that feeling. You're like, yeah, I should do this because. And sometimes you don't even know where the source came from. Like, where did that idea come from? Because it has nothing to do with what matters to me. What are you convincing yourself about when it comes to your physical body? And this is something that I help folks with all the time. I help them change how they feel about their bodies because, you know, I'm no underwear model out here, but I'm blissful in my body. I know what my body is capable of. I know how to challenge my body. I've had people be completely surprised by the fact that I ran a half marathon. I can do amazing things, and I know I can, and I know my body is there for me 100% of the way if I treat my body right. So I have great confidence in myself. I have great body bliss, is what I say. I'm very convincing when it comes to feeling amazing in my body, because that's how I help people. That's how I help women. So if you're a person who's trying to convince yourself, I am healthy, it doesn't resonate. I am fit, and it just doesn't feel quite there. I am beautiful, and you refuse to look in the mirror. You know, there could be a disconnect there for you. You're doing the work. You're trying to convince yourself, but you don't have to do that work on your own. As a coach, I can support you. I can support you in the way that you most need to be supported. And sometimes, for different people, that might be how you talk to yourself. For some people, it might be, how do I figure out this meal planning thing? Because it's just frustrating me. I don't know how to do it. I can do it for myself. I don't know how to apply it to my entire family. It could be, I want to exercise, but I hate to exercise, and I haven't been able to prioritize it in my entire life, and I don't know what that looks like for me. So no matter what it means for you, I can help support you with the right goals to get you there. And I can help you get to a place where you don't need to convince yourself of anything, because you're that convicted. You're that true to yourself, to your values, to your priorities, that it's just natural. It's just like breathing. If you were to have a conversation with a partner like I did today, and you would tell them amazing things about yourself, you would say, I am blissful in my body. I am beautiful. I am amazing. I do incredible things that are so impressive and unbelievable. You could say that to a partner for a full minute and not flinch and not hesitate and not try to convince yourself with little statements about who you are, because it's true. You can sink into that truth for you. That's how I support people. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I learn more? I have a group program called Let It Go, Group Health Coaching. Let It Go stands for more than just let go of physical, physical weight, physical heaviness. It also means let go of those expectations. Let go of what other people's stories are, because they have no impact on you, or they shouldn't. The only story that matters is the one you tell yourself. So in the course of the 6-week program, I can support you with all the ways I already shared. I can also support you in the ways that you don't know you need support in. Like, how do you talk to yourself? How do you get that confidence in yourself? I help women get confidence in themselves, and that's a gift that keeps on giving way beyond the 6 weeks that we're going to work together. I'll pop my link for this program down below in the comments. If you see the link, go to the link and have any questions, please let me know, because I'm here to support you. And if this program doesn't feel like the right fit for you, then I'm also going to pop in my scheduling tool. You can schedule a conversation with me, completely complimentary, completely confidential. I'm not going to share any of your information with anyone. It's just between you and I. And we'll talk about what that next level looks like for you. Maybe you have no weight goals at all. I totally respect that. But you have other goals in terms of life balance. You have other goals in terms of, how do I survive these holidays? Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. There's parties and food and gifts and stress and expectations. That happens a lot during this time of year. I can support you throughout that process. So this has been my conversation today on what are you convincing yourself of. If you feel brave and you are willing to share, please share one thing you're trying to convince yourself of today in the comments below this video. I will come and I will support you. I will lift you up. That's what I do as a health coach, and that's what I do as a empowerment speaker. So thank you so much for watching me live today, Rupa and Carrie. So glad to see you here today. Let me know if you have any questions. I will pop the links below this video. In the meanwhile, I wish you a happy, amazing, free Friday to do whatever you choose to do with yourself, and have a great weekend ahead. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.